Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Boundy, president of Value Clarity, LLC. People have been asking me lately about my value focus versus sales methodology. And what's the difference? How do they play together? Are they different? Do they compete? The answer is no. And if not, how? And so I wanted to give you this video that kind of talks a little bit about what the differences are and how they interact together. And so let's start with what is methodology. And I had my friend Christine gave a really great definition the other day, and it is a method or a process so that your salespeople can have the right conversations. Just have to make sure I'm writing this so that it's not going to be writing right on top of my head. Just barely skim it. That's the idea. With the right people. And you could also add at the right time, but the differences between methodology and value focus are the at the right time is about the same stuff. So let's just deal with this for right now. So that's what methodology is meant to do. Have the right sales conversations with the right people at your customer to result in an improvement in a sale, to result in more successful sales. Out of the box, when you just get the methodology and the training manuals and you have it facilitated for you, what you really get is the generic version of that methodology, which teaches you what the right kind of conversations are. So what I mean by that is you want to have conversations to discover who's involved in the buying process, what people, how important they are, what their role is in the buying decision, how well they like your stuff, what outcomes they're looking for, both personally and business-wise, stuff like that. So it doesn't have, it has a lot to do with you and your business. It has everything to do with the customer's buying decision, but kind of generic flavors of the kinds of information. So it's really about, these are specifications for the kind of information you need to do, and you got to figure out what's right for you, what that really looks like for you. And then again, with the right people. And well, it's not really with the right people. That's the ideal, but what out of the box methodology is really about as many of the right people as the customer tells you about, is what they'll disclose. And what I mean there is a lot of times they self-inform about their needs and how they think they want to buy. And so they will tell you what they know, and they make up their own internal buying committee. And so when you ask them in the methodology, who else is involved? Who else, after you get done, what is the process? What you get to is what the customer knows about. So it's as many as they disclose to you, not all the people who should. And so that gives us what value focus gets you that's different from methodology. Think of this as kind of a flat two-dimensional process or methodology, and I want to give it a third dimension. So I want to have not the right kind of conversations, I want to have the right differentiating conversations. Differentiating conversations about the right topics. With the right people who will advocate for you. Sounds a little mysterious, but here's what I mean. Here I have a friend who's in the electrical connector business. So they sell connectors that go, one of their big businesses is avionics, the boxes that go into a commercial or military airline. So the connectors that connect the box to the airframe or the boxes to each other, or connect your in-flight entertainment system to the head unit, the one that the flight attendant has to restart all the time. And Those connectors are designed to and bought to an internationally recognized standard or specification. So they're all standards compliant, they're all specs compliant. And my friend works for a company that sells a higher price than the other standards compliant connector from a competitor that is built and made in India. Also specs compliant, also standards compliant. So when we're talking about just the raw methodology, the uninformed or the out of the box sales process is going to be asking the company that's making this avionics box, designing and building this avionics box, who else is involved in the design. So that's going to be the design engineer, the people who confirm that you meet specs. Oftentimes in these cases, they will do the tests on the connectors themselves to confirm they meet spec. And then it goes to purchasing and legal and maybe your manufacturing folks to make sure that they're buying and scheduling software interfaces with your shipping software so that they know exactly when your stuff is going to be on their manufacturing line and received and so forth. So methodology out of the box teaches you how to make sure that all of those things get covered. But my friend's connector is more reliable. They're differentiating on reliability, even though both meet specs. Now, I think it's kind of important when my in-flight entertainment unit is still working and the flight attendant, I don't have to bother the flight attendant to reset the thing and hopefully have it work. But I think it's a real big problem if the navigation system or if the engine control system or something like that goes out. So those connectors, the reliability of those connectors is a real big deal. And there might be a reliability engineer, but because all of these meet specs, that reliability engineer may or may not be engaged in the buying team. So he has to have a conversation engaging the reliability people, the technical and field support, and maybe even the salespeople, saying what happens when that box fails because the connector failed. And unfortunately, when a connector fails, it's an intermittent short. So they have to tow the airplane. They can't figure it out in the field. So they take the plane out of service, cancel the flight, replace the airplane if they have one available, tow it back in, and try to figure out which connector has that intermittent short, which is, as you know, the most maddening failure in all of, in any time you have a car or anything being fixed. Intermittent is the most maddening kind of thing to fix. So that's a really expensive failure. And so you need to have a differentiating conversation with those people who can talk through to the rest of the team how big a failure that is, what the failure cost, what a big deal that reliability is. So now you want to talk about the right topics, the topics that will get somebody to advocate in your behalf, on your behalf. So if none of your competitors are having value-focused conversations, you're having a methodology and making sure that all the bases are covered, you're going to have a selling advantage over your competitors. It's a natural thing. And so I'm thrilled to advocate for sales methodology, and I'm a big fan of methodology. But I'm all about being able to sell at the higher price. Using this methodology in this story that I talked to you about, he was able to successfully win the business for that avionics connector at a higher price. He couldn't go into the price basement with this Indian competitor. So it was either make a sale at this higher price or walk away from the business. But it is that business, it's that significant. Now that we've got this, now that we know the right topics, we take this value focus company-wide. We take these kind of conversations that really had an impact in our sales environment, and we go back to marketing and we have them make some content about the cost of reliability. Hey, we talked to this customer and this is the cost of low reliability. And our connectors have higher reliability, so you're going to avoid these kind of topics. So the content strategy changes and their product development strategy changes. They have engineers that start really concentrating on what's the next way we can make our product even more reliability, increase the lead over that Indian competitor even more, because we're competing on reliability where they can't and won't go. So let's make sure that anything that we can do to increase the reliability. So value focus now starts to spread around through your entire company, through your entire culture through your entire, every operation, through every silo in your company. And so it's a much more exciting place to operate for me. I'm really get excited about this. I was tolerant of, and I love sales methodology, but giving that two-dimensional sales methodology a third dimension, taking that value focus throughout the entire organization, that's my passion. That's what I love to do. And if you'd like to talk a little bit more about how we could do that together, go ahead and give me a call. Thanks. Appreciate your time.